Hi there, Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. You know I've been doing Home Studio Corner since 2009. That's crazy to me. And if you've been around since then, raise your hand in the chat. I want to know which of you is that crazy. This is episode 227 of Ask Joe. You can listen in your podcast app. You can listen and watch on YouTube. There might be other ways. I don't know if there's other ways to consume it, but I'm glad you're here. And the best way is to attend live on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time, just like all these lovely people like Bill and Kip and Will Paxton and Ori Main and Sam Canuck and John McMillan and Steve Rossbotham and Grassy Poet, Chris Cooks, Grazar, John McMillan, I said that twice, Jugs MacGyver, and Basilio. So we got a lot of folks that hang out, David Kamel, who hang out regularly with us. Would love for you to be one of those. Work it around your lunch break. Come hang out. You can see how I make each of the intros, which is arguably the least interesting part of this, but that was a fun guitar tone that we were able to figure out. And yeah, so there you go. My name is Joe Gilder. Thanks for being here. What I do here on this podcast is I answer your questions. And what I do with Home Studio Corner is I talk about making music in a home studio, and I help you overcome those hurdles of how complicated it can be at times and help you get to the part where you're just making and releasing just crap loads of music. That's the official slogan. Let's all release crap loads of music. So, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today. Normally I talk about something for just a couple seconds, then we get into your questions. We might get into your questions a little faster because I'm not super prepared. What I will say, yeah, I know what I want to talk about. I actually had thought about this. Never mind. I have set some goals for not for the year, for this is just the beginning of the second quarter of the year. So I've got 13 weeks and I've got 4 goals and I'm going at them. I'm going to write them down every day, pursue them like crazy. They're pretty big. A lot of them, there's a good chance I won't get to them, and that excites me. So, meaning I won't achieve it. I won't get where I'm trying to get. And I'll share more about those goals and what they are. That's somewhat irrelevant. But one of them, as you may recall, one of my big goals is to play the Ryman Auditorium, best venue in the world, according to me. Just a cool venue here in Nashville. It's an old church that's been turned into a venue. I've seen some amazing shows there, and I want to get up on that stage and play some songs. I'm nowhere close to reaching that goal. I've released a lot of music over the years, especially just in the last 12 months, but there's a lot of steps between here and there, and unless I'm making progress towards it, I won't make progress towards it, right? So the idea here is I'm gonna try to play a bunch of shows over this next 3-month period. So a lot of streaming shows. I'll do some here on live stream, kind of like this, except less of me talking and more of me with a guitar playing. I want to invite friends and musicians and songwriters to come play with me. So do like kind of an in the round thing or a collaboration thing on the live stream thing. And also want to play some shows out in the actual real world. And that's where you maybe could come in. If you're in the general vicinity of Nashville or within driving distance, I'd love to chat with you about possibilities of doing either acoustic shows or house shows. It's just something I just got to do. I need to play more music. I want to play more music and connect with more people, both musicians and the people that are listening to the music. So that's where I am right now. Gray says, come to England. I would love to come to England. I've got lots of friends over there in that United Kingdom, but I just haven't made it over there yet. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And the idea is, a lot of people would say, I want to do this. I have this goal I want to do. And now I'm going to make an album, and then I'm going to sit and wait for someone to discover me and invite me over to play in their show. And I suppose that can happen, but I'm much more thinking about how can I make things happen? How can I create a show, for example, where I get to play, but I'm also inviting the artist and I'm taking ownership of it, like maybe a house show, at my house or at a friend's house in Nashville, or calling a venue and saying, here's what I want to do. Can we have it for this evening? I'll bring the musicians. I'll bring the audience. Putting all the pressure on myself to make it happen, which scares the daylights out of me because that's not what I do. I've amassed a big following on YouTube. This is completely different. I can't guarantee that I'll get a bunch of people to a show like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to think of ways to not sit around and wait for someone to pick me, but to just pick myself and just keep picking myself and keep finding ways to create value both for me and also for the audience, but also for other musicians who maybe don't tend to get out there and pick themselves as much. And I think it's going to be super fun. Boom. Okay, the chat is all abuzz with people saying things like, let's make music together. So the hidden guy is new to the live stream. Welcome, the hidden guy. Nadeem wants to go busking. That could be fun. I've busked before. And so anyway, that's enough about me. If you're thinking about it and you want to just hit me up, email me, joe@homestudiocorner.com. I'm open to anything. I might say no. If you're in Vancouver and you want me to drive, probably not going to happen. But you can email me anyway. See what happens. I just think there's a lot of fun things that could happen that aren't within the normal confines of how shows are booked and played. So let's explore some, shall we? All right, now it's the time for your questions. If you have a question for me, get in that chat and ask away. I will try to get to as many as I can over the next, let's do some quick math, 24 and a half minutes. And yeah. So, by the way, those of you who never come to the live call, I end up usually staying on and answering questions for another 30 minutes after the call is over. So there's your incentive to come hang out live on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. That's the last time I'll say it. It's probably not the last time I'll say it, but I'm going to say it's the last time I'll say it. By the way, I had some really good hot sauce at lunch. I can't stop thinking about it. All righty. Grupo says, how do you make your YouTube videos? Depends on the video. If it's screen stuff, like mixing stuff, I use a piece of software called ScreenFlow. I route Studio One through my mixer, much like I'm doing right now. I route my microphone through the mixer, and then I route that mix of everything back into the computer. I use Audio Hijack as part of the software and the Soundflower driver to get that audio into ScreenFlow, and then that all mashes them all together. So that's it. If it's just camera videos, I shoot it on a camera, I drop it into iMovie, and I edit it there. And all episodes of Gilder Cam have been done in iMovie, which is just funny to me. I think it's funny. Lunch today was at a place called Frothy Monkey, which is a cool coffee house that has good food. They have good omelet, really good omelet. I want another one with hot sauce on it. Nikki, first time on the live chat. What do you think of Reaper? I switched yesterday from Ableton. I think Reaper's great. I've never used it a day in my life, but I know people who have. I think the software you use makes no difference. It really doesn't. If you've switched and you're happy, go for it. I just think I'm much more interested in the music you're making than the tools you use to make it. So if you're making music, wonderful. If you're not, let's fix that. Kip says, what do you suggest for releasing EPs? CD Baby, TuneCore, and Research. CD Baby only charges you once, and TuneCore has annual fees for each song/album. Neither. I use DistroKid. I've used TuneCore before. It was really expensive. It was like $50 a year per release, I think. It could be different now, obviously. I used Ditto Music for a while. They weren't great. But DistroKid has been fabulous. It's $30, I think, maybe $35, maybe $40 for the year, and I can release unlimited stuff forever. Like last year, I released 3 EPs and a single. It was all for the same price. I could release a song a day for the same price as I could release nothing, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I like DistroKid a lot. They actually emailed me a long time ago, said, hey, make a video about DistroKid and we'll pay you. And I never got back to them, but then I checked out DistroKid and I really liked it. And I never got paid. So I'm not getting paid to tell you this, which should tell you something. When and why do you use sidechaining, specifically for vocals? The only sidechaining I do on vocals is where I use the internal sidechain to have the compressor only listen to the high frequencies to act like a de-esser. That's really the only thing I do. I don't sidechain something else off the vocals. Occasionally a delay, where the delay gets smacked down while the vocal is singing and then comes back in when the vocal stops singing. But that's only on rare occasions. Joe, do you take breaks when mixing a song? Usually, yes. Are you going to get a distressor now and possibly more hardware compressors? And no, probably not. I'll just have Tim bring his over every time. It's a perfect situation for me. I'm on the fence about that new Eminem song. I haven't heard it. I'll probably be on the fence too. Your opinion of Steven Slate modeling microphones. It sounds like a really cool idea. Much like the Avid 11 rack. It gives you a bunch of different amp sounds for the price of less than one of those amps. Are they true to the original? I don't care. It's different tones and they sound cool, so I like it. The problem with virtual mic thing is, and I talked about this a couple episodes back, it's software based. So if ever Slate decides, you know what, we're not making enough money off of this, we're going to stop supporting this software, you essentially lose support for your microphone. And if your software stops updating, you update your system, you get a new computer, and the software doesn't work on that new computer, you just lost your microphones. So that's my only concern with a digital system. That said, I don't see Slate going anywhere. And the resale value on software is way bad. If you bought a U47, chances are you can resell that at any point and make a pretty penny. Not so much with digital-based stuff. Something to think about. What bit and sample rate do you record at? 4824. 48 kilohertz, 24 bits. And only do 48 because this board only does 48. So that's why. Normally it was 44.1 prior to getting that sucker. How do you go about songwriting? I sit down and I write. And I try, it's been different lately, but I try to sit down and give myself an hour and finish the song. Finishing songs is the best thing you can do. If you email me and say, hey, I'm having a hard time writing, I would ask, how many songs have you written? And the response is usually none or a couple. And I would say, you just need to finish songs. Don't worry about it being bad. Finish a bunch of bad songs and you'll get better. It's the weirdest thing. And nobody believes me, but it's true. And once you experience it, you'll say, oh, he was right. I wish I hadn't waited 5 years to follow his advice. And you'll start writing more. So just start writing. Your first songs are likely not going to be good. Just like the first chords I played on guitar aren't good. So stop living in the dream world where your first song is going to be a Grammy winner, because it's not. And if you wait for a Grammy winner to come out on the first try, you'll never write a song. And 50 years from now, you'll email me and say, Joe, I never wrote a song. And it'll be a sad day. So let's not have sad days. Finish a bunch of bad songs, and guess what? They'll start to get better. It happens. I promise you. Do you master your own work? I have lately. Oops. Yeah, once I've mixed it, it sounds about like I want it to sound, and so I'll master it to get it a little bit louder, balance things out if one's got more low end than the other. I know it's probably wrong, but I just don't care. I want to get it out there, and by the time I'm done, usually I've got a deadline and it's due in 2 days, and that's just not enough turnaround a lot of time for a lot of mastering folks. Plus, that's more money to spend, and maybe I've blown my budget hiring great musicians or buying equipment to record it. It already sounds good, so I don't know. And you can go listen to the stuff I released last year, and if you think it sounds awful, then there proves your point. I should have had someone else master it, but anyway. I'm in a mood today. This is fun, and I'm drinking tea. I have stuck with the tea, y'all. All y'all British folk. It's delightful. I feel fancy. Basilio. I searched on YouTube and Google. Couldn't really figure out the difference between digital and analog mixers. Thinking to upgrade my studio to cater. Well, a digital mixer is like a computer in a box. An analog mixer actually runs the signal through like circuits and transformers and all that stuff. That's the actual difference. A digital mixer is probably more flexible, probably cleaner sounding. Nobody ever says, man, I love the sound of that digital board, but it just works and it's flexible. And like this digital board, I can plug USB into my computer, and now I'm multi-track recording 24, 32 channels. Really easy. To do that with an analog mixer takes a whole lot of work. You got to use direct outputs and a bunch of cables and a cable snake or a splitter snake, figure out a way to get it into the board and then back out, and then you still have to go into some sort of a computer audio interface that will convert the analog signal into a digital signal that'll go Firewire, Thunderbolt, or USB into the computer so you can record and play it back. It's a big hassle. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I can't imagine me going anywhere further than a digital mixer that's just one USB cord to the computer. Anything more than that feels like a lot for what we do in home studios. Can you do an episode about RMS and LUFS, LUFS, and how loud we should master a song? I still Here's an embarrassing admission. I don't know what LUFS stands for or means. I know it's a loudness measurement. I'm going to guess. Loudness, ultimate, full scale. I have no idea. Loudness unit, full scale, maybe. It's a different, I don't know. Anyway, I use the K system, the little K meters. I go K14, and I have the master where it's at 0, where the green turns to yellow. That's where I try to get it. And then the louder part of the song, it's yellow, and the loudest part of the song, it's red. And if it stays in red too much, I pull it down. If it stays in way down in the green too much, I turn it up, and that's literally what I do. And my mixes come out not slammed and a little quieter than everything else. I'm okay with that. Loudness units full scale. Is that what I said? Because I think I nailed it. Ultimate was a bad guess. I knew that going into it. How do you promote your music? DistroKid. Yeah, DistroKid. You like literally go to iTunes and search for my name, and boom, there I am. That's it. I don't know about international. Someone who's not in the U.S., go search my name on Spotify or iTunes and verify that there's probably 8 or so albums, EPs there. When you're using K metering, do you mix with a peak or the average in those ranges? Well, a K meter is only average. It's like the meter itself doesn't show you, at least the one I have, doesn't show you peaks. Like, I can't show you right now, but so it's just the average. So yes, it's the average is hitting there, if that makes sense. Steve over in Great Britain confirms that I am in whatever he checked in iTunes or Spotify internationally. And that was all. And someone in Canada also. Thank you, Ryan. So turns out DistroKid does get it everywhere. So there you go. Chris says, how long do you often spend on a mix? I'm starting to practice mixing more serious and spent the last month on one tune, my song Mission, which, by the way, if you haven't mixed Mission, it's free. Go find Mix Together. homestudiocorner.com/MT. You can get the tracks. You can follow along with me on the YouTube series. It's fabulous. I don't know why more people haven't done it. I'm thinking I should focus on finishing mixes in a smaller time frame. Chris, I'm not as concerned about what time frame it takes you as much as that you just keep finishing things. If you think you're taking, I mean, it says you took the last month. I don't know what that means. If it means you literally mixed for like 4 hours a day for a month, in that case, yeah, you probably do that a little faster. But a lot of it is starting out. Starting out, you're going to be slower. Dave Pinsato claims that he'll spend a day on a mix. I just don't have the concentration to do that. I like to blow through it a little bit faster, but then sometimes I have to come back and do it again. For like Dueling Mixes, for example, which is something we mix a song every month, I usually try to schedule an hour just to kind of get it set up and just start doing some levels, get all the tracks in there, everything organized, and then a 3-hour chunk to get the bulk of the mix done, and then another hour to kind of finish it. And that last hour could turn into 2 hours if I'm just really not feeling it. Sometimes I get done sooner, but usually it's about around there. If I feel that at that amount of time, I feel like I've given it enough attention, I haven't blown through it too quickly. But then with my own stuff, I actually mix it faster usually because I've already mixed it sort of going through the recording process. So by the time it's time to quote unquote mix, by the time I've recorded everything, it already is kind of already there. So, I don't have to do as much there. So it's different. But if it's a straight up song I've never heard and I'm mixing it, I'd say 4 to 5 hours is normal. But that's really irrelevant. That's just me. You could do it in 10 and that could be completely legit. Have you seen the website Lander? It offers an app to master your songs. Yes, I have. And I know Ian has talked about it. I think Graham Cochran's talked about it as well. He did one. No, yeah, he did. He did a video about he mastered one himself, or just used a limiter, and then he sent it to Lander. He sent it to me, actually, and said, I'm not going to tell you which one is which. Which one do you prefer? And they were both in the ballpark, but I still preferred the not Lander one. I didn't know which one was which. That was really cool and fun, and I was terrified that I was going to guess Lander was better. I just don't love the idea of anything doing music automatically. Music is made by people, so anytime something offers it automatically does this, or it'll instantly blah, blah, this, I start to kind of glaze over and stop listening. Even if it does it well. Like, there could be, like, I know there's a couple of virtual instruments that do, like, guitar strumming, and you can hit a button, and it'll play like a guitar, and it sounds real, strumming a guitar. And it probably sounds better than what a lot of people will get recording. I would still much rather strum that guitar myself, put a microphone in front of it, and wrestle with it to get it to work and sound good. To me, that sounds better. than a perfect, like I was doing some piano the other day using MainStage and my keyboard, and it sounded good, but it sounded too good. And so I'm probably, for this EP I'm working on, gonna get the guy, my upright piano upstairs is broken, the sustain pedal stick is broken, and it's out of tune. I'm probably gonna have the guy come tune it and fix it, and then that's gonna be my my piano sound for this EP, I think, because I like the imperfections in there. So that's my little rant on computers taking over the world and doing all our music for us. Please do more tours from your studio. Like, you want me to tour this studio again? Because I did it already. There's really nothing different, except I swapped the keyboard and the desk over. If you haven't seen that latest 2018 tour, it's up there, but there's really nothing to show. And if I did the same video every day, you would all go crazy. What's your opinion of Aubade for Android? Never heard of it. What are your thoughts on recording and or mixing with a 500 series hardware, particularly the DIY RE modules and the vast color module? Well, Doug, I don't use 500 series. I think 500 series is super cool. I go through phases where I'll say I'll have one of those and one of those and one of those, but I never get them. So I don't have an opinion. I like the idea of I can have in a $500 or $600 package, I can get the same sound as a $1,500 preamp, as long as I have the chassis to put it in. I like that idea, and that may be something I do down the road, but I won't mix through it. It's just running it out and back in and having to render everything in real time, just not worth it from a time standpoint. And it just doesn't add so much that it makes that worth it to me. I think I just went through all your questions. What equipment do you use for live streaming? Everything you see here. The Studio Live microphone, and then it goes into a piece of software called Audio Hijack that listens to a mix that I'm sending from this board that has this plus the audio going into a limiter, so it's nice and loud for YouTube. And then, let's see, from there, that goes into a piece of software called Wirecast, and Wirecast is what uploads to YouTube. Boom. What are some techniques to get clearer, fuller sounding vocals when mixing in a home studio? Well, Michael, the first question is, do the vocals sound clear and full sounding in the recording? If not, there's no mixing trick that'll do that. That's the biggest thing I think I probably pound into people's heads. If the recording isn't the thing, does it sound like you want it to sound or pretty close to it, then there's nothing you can do in mixing to do that. So that's the first step. If it's your vocal that you're recording and the raw recording doesn't sound clear and full, then start over and work on getting that to sound clear and full. Then you can worry about doing things. I have found the better that I've got at recording, the less crazy my EQs look in mixing, because I make it sound good on the front end, what we call get it right at the source around these here parts, and then I don't have to do as much. Now, that said, clear vocals, sometimes you've got to take some mid-range out to get some of the nasally or whatever in the middle out of the way so you can hear the clarity on the top end and the fullness in the bottom end. But what I've said before is probably the better answer. What is the best way to learn to play piano when you're a real guitar guy? I mean, there are no piano tabs. Well, pianos use a thing called sheet music. There's these lines and circles that tell you exactly where to put your fingers. So I would learn that maybe. Or you could maybe get one of those courses that teaches you how to play chords. I took piano lessons as a kid, so I can read sheet music, but if you plop down like a hymn book and said, play this, I could eventually get there, but it wouldn't be quick. I would be like, clang, 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 clang. So it wouldn't be good. But if you set me down with a chord chart and said, play this, I could bang out the chords, because I know I play piano like a guitar player. So I spent a summer as a teenager. My bandmate bought this cheap little Yamaha keyboard that when I played 3 notes, it had a screen that popped up and told me what the chord was. So I knew chords from guitar, so I literally one at a time figured out how to play all the different chords, and then I started to learn how to play. Stefan says, I cannot sign up for Dueling Mixes via PayPal out of Germany. You cannot sign up for Dueling Mixes with PayPal, only credit card or debit card. If that counts you out, I am so sorry, but that's the way the system works. Will Paxton, how do you remain productive, keep yourself motivated through sickness or allergies or something like a family emergency? You may be able to hear that I'm stuffy today and sniffing a lot. Sometimes you got to take a break. And then the other time it's just I've got all this stuff I've committed to. I got to get it done. And so I just have to get it done. Now, family emergency, I totally am going to stop and take care of that. So I'm not sure what you mean. Yannick says, what's your opinion on the Kemper? I think it sounds amazing. I probably would like one day. And a lot of Nashville folks use it. And Nashville folks they're pretty picky. So if they're digging it and they're using it on real sessions and live, then that says a lot. Do you use fat channel as standard procedure? Yeah, it's kind of my go-to unless I need surgical EQ where there's a specific frequency I got to take out. But yeah, I've been using it a lot lately. The Neve EQ is on most channels, or at least on my buses. How is your current podcast vocal running? I don't know what you mean. I think I just explained that. How do you go about settling on a key for a song? I go to the highest part of the song, which is usually the chorus, and I make sure I can sing it well and comfortably. If it's a little too high, and I know if I'm playing this at a writer's night and I'm tired, I'm not going to be able to hit that note, I bring that sucker down. Occasionally, it's what works for the guitar. So there may be this riff that I really can't do in any other key based on the way the guitar is tuned. In those instances, I just deal with it, and I just play it in that key. So those are two answers. There you go. Ben says, when you're writing songs, do you try to use different keys as a challenge or stick to ones you know fit your voice? For me, it's mostly I find some sort of a riff or a progression that I like. And so those are going to be in the normal kind of guitar player keys. So E, G, A. I've been writing a lot in B lately, C, and D. Those are the main keys I'm going to use. There's really almost never a reason to write in B flat for me because I don't enjoy playing in B flat. So then I'll write my songs in those keys. So if I'm writing it in D and it's too high, I'll go down to C. If I'm writing it in C and it's too high, I'll probably go down to A because I don't want to play in B or B flat probably. So I just keep it super simple. Gibson or Fender? I'm a Gibson guy, although I don't love them right now because they won't stay in tune and I'm contemplating other things. Steon's here. No matter what amp sim I play through, it always sounds fake when distortion hits it. Anyone else noticing this? Yeah. You may just not be playing through the right amp sim yet. I like the way distortion hits the 11 rack. Set to a clean, like deluxe reverb. I think it sounds pretty good. So I don't know what to tell you. What's your main plugins outside of PreSonus? None. I have a meter plugs plugin that is that I use for mastering from Ian Shepherd, the Perception plugin, which doesn't. It's just a meter. It's just a listening thing. It doesn't even make any sound. I have 0 other plugins. I guess I have Easy Drummer that I've never used, except for once. So that's it. And Melodyne, but that comes with Studio One as well. I'm not. It's not just a gimmick. I just use Logic or Pro Tools. If I had to pick, I'd probably go Logic because of all the sounds they have. I had Logic. I used Logic for a couple years, and I like. It's very creative. I mean, Pro Tools has decent sounds too, but Logic just has a really great sound library. I'd probably go there. So, Steon, are you saying the distorted sounds don't sound good because you're using the built-in distortion, or are you running a distortion pedal into a clean amp sound? I would try one that you haven't tried. Instead of cranking up the amp, keep it clean like you would a clean amp and run a distortion pedal into it. See if that works. That's worked well for me. What's your opinion of the AudioTechnica AT2020? I'm sure it's great. Never used it. At what volume do you record? Well below clipping, and probably what people would say is too quiet because the volume makes no difference to the audio quality. The only time you can screw it up with volume is if you turn it up too loudly. You can see right now my vocal is super quiet. Once I get done with this, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to turn it up. Easy. You can always turn it up. If it's like so quiet you can't see it, then that might be too quiet. But people's problem isn't recording too quiet. It's recording so loudly that if I sing a note a little bit louder than they expected and I clip, then I've ruined that take, or at least that part, and I got to go back. So you're much better off just going super conservative on the levels and letting the performers just play. Don't worry about it. And you can always turn things up or down after the fact. And with that, I'm out of here.